People are enjoying art, there is an aesthetic vibe, and lots of people are now start to look seriously at art. Personally, I think women have a better aesthetic sense than
better
men.
eye.
A good piece of art will keep growing with you, and if they are great works of art, obviously they grow also in value for you.
Ashwini Kakkar is a renowned businessman and entrepreneur and philanthropist. He's a keen collector of modern and contemporary Indian art. Today, he's here to discuss the evolving landscape of art and how collectors can navigate the market to build meaningful collections.
If I'm looking to invest in art, how does it work in India?
I just want to start by saying that, Indian art is so underpriced as compared to European art, because I saw the prices in those countries and I said, oh my God. Then when I came back, it's selling for 1,000 rupees. I mean, what is this?
Has there ever been cases of it turning into like a bad investment?
From my point of view, there's never a bad investment in art. Why?
So Ashwini, let's talk about the world of art, because at one point in time it was considered a luxury, but now we're seeing it really emerging as an interesting and new asset class to invest in. And I'm looking at the numbers, absolutely staggering in terms of art pieces like Raza selling for 51 crores and then the Storyteller 61 crore rupees and things like that. Tell us a little bit more about why people collect art. Is it a passion? Is it pure monetary value? What's the reason?
Well, like you've said, there's been a lot of democratization of art. And I think that's a very good trend, because as the middle classes emerge, I think what's happening is that they are getting more and more into art. It may not be top of the class art, it may not be the masters or, the big contemporary artists or whatever, but at least people are enjoying art. There is an aesthetic vibe kind of happening, and people are seeing the benefits of having beautiful pieces in their homes and, going forward with that.
Absolutely, because it is a very personal choice. And I just want to understand what the perception is when it comes to art in India. Has that changed? Has that evolved over the years? Is there now a lot more interest when it comes to investing in India? Like, take the clock back 10 years versus now.
I think there's been a lot of development, and as the middle classes have developed, as people, for example, from the software industry, we could take that as an example.
Sure.
They've had lots and lots of ESOPs, and they've kind of made tons of money on those ESOPs. And they're starting to buy homes of their own. Of course, the prices of homes have also gone up, especially in the metro cities.
Yes.
But I think the good part is that people are now saying, oh my God, I invested so many lakhs or so many millions or so many crores in my house. I want to make it nice. I want to have some art in there. And also their spouses are playing a big part. I think personally, I think women have a better aesthetic sense than
better
men.
eye.
Yes. But I think people are saying, hey, let's look at something for this house, and let's try and try and live with something that's beautiful, that's engaging, that's good for our soul. And so I think that kind of thing is taking root.
Yes.
And lots and lots of people are now starting to look seriously at art. And it's all kinds of art, it's not just one or the other or the other. It's tremendous kind of, for example, initially it always used to be more or less, watercolor on paper, or it used to be, oil on canvas or something. But now there's sculptures, there's litho, there's prints, there's photography even. So there's many classes of art that are developing quite nicely.
Yes, absolutely. And I think beautifying homes has now become a big part of what people do, and they want to really be a part of that process, and art plays a big role there. What about the different forms that you're talking about? Can you tell us how the traditional art forms are varying from what is now modern? How are they, for example, how are they priced differently?
Well, I mean, look, the art movement in India is very, very interesting, because it mirrors the independence movement of India. So if you see, during the British Raj, late 80s and so on, there used to be British artists, Captain Brindley's, the Daniels, William Daniels, the brothers, and they used to be making art.
Right.
And this happened till very, very, let's say till about 1880, 1885. Now, after that is when Indian art took off. And that is when, you had the proliferation of people like Raja Ravi Verma and so on. And what happened with Raja Ravi Verma was that he chose to take Indian themes, strong Indian
Yes.
themes, the pantheon of gods and goddesses, the Maharajas of yore and things like that. But he used Western techniques.
Okay.
And that was because that was a continuation from the British artists. But after that, there was the Bengal school which said, no, we don't want to use Western techniques, we will use our own Indian techniques and also change the themes a little bit.
Okay.
But a lot of that Bengal art was a bit dark. Why? Because that period was not a good period. There was the First World War happening. Then after that, there was the Great Bengal Famine. So a lot of those works you'll find in dark grays, blacks, those kind of colors.
Yeah.
But if you track the movement of Indian independence a little further, then you see, oh my God, India's gaining independence. So there was this progressives group, led by people like Hussain and Souza and Raza and Gade and others, and initially started by 6 artists, but that ran riot,
Loaded.
riot of color, riot of form, great things. It was like an explosion of joy.
Yeah.
Here we've got our independence and all this is happening. And as we move forward, then of course the Baroda school came in, the Madras school came in, so a lot of other things were happening. But after that period, there is now contemporary.
Yes.
So those artists are like completely off the wall, some of them, and they are using new media. For example, they're using television as a medium, they're using, projections as a medium. I mean, they're using all kinds of things, and it's gone into a stratosphere of its own.
Yes, and I can see the passion with which you're talking about this. So for someone who really has an eye, who appreciates art, you've really been a connoisseur, if I can, over the past many years. For the uninitiated or for those who don't have an eye for it, what does it take to appreciate art, to know what is a good piece or a good artist, or know that this one is going to be an emerging artist who's up and coming? What does it take?
From a buyer's point of view,
Yes.
what I would say is, if I were to give some little advice,
Of course.
I would say first, initiate yourself into art.
Okay.
Look at various things, look at catalogs, look at exhibitions, go and physically see some art. And over a period of time, you'll develop a kind of a sense for, a broad sense for art, a gestalt view, a holistic view on art. And after that, you can go into the little bit into the technicalities, and the technicalities are not very technical.
Okay.
It's just that, for example, you start to look at line. There have been great artists, Heber, for example, he used to put the pencil at one point in time, at one point on the canvas or on the paper, and with one line he could complete the entire artwork.
Wow.
So that is line,
Yes.
line. Then there is form. Whether it's human forms,
Okay.
other forms, temples, this, that, whatever they are
Yes.
making. Then there is color, then there is strokes. So there's a whole slew of individual items
Yes.
which you start to appreciate in a
Yes.
work of art.
Yeah.
Is there one color? Are there 12 colors? How do the colors manifest themselves? All of that is happening.
Yeah.
And, if you then start to look at individual things, by that time, you are already in a position to distinguish between good art and average art, let's say.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So dip your toe in the ocean and get a feel and get exposed to the world of art is
Exactly.
what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. Now, if we were to just talk about the monetary value that's attached to it. We're
Yeah.
talking about these exorbitant sums of money. And then, of course, there's so many emerging artists that are coming about.
For sure.
So what are some of the critical factors that you need to keep in mind to know whether or not this is going to be a piece of art that will appreciate over time versus something that might not?
So again, I would say that, take a holistic view.
Okay.
And look at, so you've already initiated yourself in art. You already are starting to look at the individual elements within that art
Okay.
frame. But after that, also look at for example, what are the gallerists doing?
Okay.
What are the auction houses doing? What are the other stakeholders in that whole art world? What are the critics saying about that artist? What is happening with that artist on the media? Are you seeing some kind of things in the newspaper? Are you seeing some kind of things in on television or on social media or somewhere else or whatever?
Okay.
So look at what other stakeholders are doing with that artist, and you'll get a very good idea. And also see the regularity with which that artist is displaying in various parts of the country,
Okay.
or in various galleries or in various. And what are the museums doing, for example?
Okay.
Is there any museum that's kind of looking seriously at that art? Or, for example, you could look at what the big patrons of art are doing. Or what the private buyers are
Understood.
doing. Are there lots of sales happening with this artist? And there are some great patrons of art in this country. And
Yeah.
hats off to them. And over the years, there have been many. And, I could name a few. The Tatars have been a big house
Yeah.
which has been kind of supporting art in many, many ways. For
Yes.
example, the Taj today, the Taj Group has a collection of, maybe a couple of thousand works.
Yeah.
And some of them are displayed in their hotels, some of them
Yes.
are displayed in other parts. Then Kiran Nadar of, Shiv Nadar's
Yes.
family, the HCL family. I mean, they are building a fascinating museum in
Yes.
Delhi. I mean, it's unbelievable the kind
Yeah.
of effort they're putting into art and so on. And of course, if you see the Jindal family,
Yes.
they have a great. I mean, there are many such cases.
Yes.
But I think you can also get a little bit of inspiration from some of these big houses who are doing such wonderful things.
Okay, so it's so interesting to actually follow what's actually happening with the artist and, their journey. That's critical. But sometimes some would say it's a bit like a shot in the dark because there's no real benchmark or there's no real demarcation as to what would make a piece of art sell at X price versus less. So do you feel that that's a challenge or a bit of a gamble when it comes to investing in art? Do you think that it needs to be a little more structured, or that's just how it is?
Well, art by definition does not have accurate kind of price points.
Yeah.
It's not like buying a packet of biscuits or buying a car which is valued at 10 lakh 66,000 or another car where buys the other car valued at 70 lakhs or 2 crores or whatever.
There's no key parameters.
So it's not a fixed price kind of situation.
Yes.
But the parameters lead you into a very good range of prices. So, you can get an excellent range of prices. That's why when you see a catalog of one of these auction houses, they never will give you a fixed price. They will give you a range of price.
Okay.
And more or less, 95% of the time, those range things which are outlined by them are fairly accurate. So it's not as though there are no price points. Those are price points, but they are little flexible price points because of the range model that is utilized in art. And that also is happening because, different buyers look at art with different sets of emotions.
Yes.
There is a physical work. Obviously, that physical work is there. But does it speak to your soul? So it may speak a little louder to my soul than it may speak to your soul, and so on and so forth, which is why the range of price works really well in the case of art.
Okay, good to know. And you know, like you said, we need to follow the gallerists, etc. How does it work in India? If I'm looking to invest in art, do I go to a curator? Do I just follow an artist, say online, galleries? How exactly what would be my first steps?
Like I said, if you can dip your toe into
Yeah.
that whole art scene,
Yeah.
you will be much better informed.
Okay.
Now,
Can you share with us some names of galleries or auction houses in India for those who don't know?
yes, I will. I will. But I just want to start by saying that, the lowest level is people who allow others to buy the art for them. So,
Oh.
for example, if you have an artist, an architect who's designing your home, or if you have let's say, an interior designer who is designing your home, and you let them buy your art, that's the lowest level.
Okay.
Because it may or may not emote
Appeal
with
to
you
you.
over a period of time.
Yes.
No? And if you have dipped your toes into the art scene,
Yeah.
then you have a better eye, and then maybe you, along with your spouse or with your family or whatever,
Yeah.
can go look at various things. The choices are between this and that and that and that,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
how do you emote with this? How do
Yeah.
I emote with this? And so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Then you are in a much better situation
Yeah.
to buy the right kind of art. As far as the galleries are concerned, or the auction houses mainly are concerned, then there is a level of auction houses which are global auction houses,
Okay.
and these are people like Christie's or
Sotheby's.
Sotheby's or Bowring's or Phillips or Bottoms. There's a slew of auction houses, and they all do a fairly good job of picking their artworks and their provenance and everything. So everything comes together at the auction house. Now in India, there are, luckily for us, Indian auction houses. Like Saffron is an outstanding auction house. Dinesh and Minal Wazirani, they've done a great
Yes.
job of building this auction house. Now, equally, I think Pandols have done a fabulous job.
Yeah.
Dadiba and they've done a great job of developing, because auction houses are not really only sales agencies. They also promote art. I mean, they do a lot of stuff, like
Yes.
all the lectures that are happening at Pandols, or various types of not only investors but artists, art critics, people who are promoting art. Lots of different kinds of people come, they speak, they interact, many things happen, and that leads to a lot of furtherance of the cause of art
Yeah.
as you go forward. So these are the auction houses mainly.
Yeah. And like I said, I can really hear the joy in your voice when you're talking about art. And I wanted to talk about the emotional aspect or the behavioral aspect. Do you think that when one is identifying a piece of art, given that it's such a personal experience, that majority of the process of buying art is emotional or behavioral versus purely a financial motive?
So, the first thing I always say to somebody who wants to buy art and is thinking about, should I buy this or that, I think the first principle is always buy something that you love at first sight, that speaks to you,
Yeah.
that talks to you, that you can emote with. Because the crucial thing about art is you end up living with
Yeah.
that piece of art for
Yeah.
the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So, it's not something that you only want to buy as an investment or
Yes.
something like that. Because when you live with it, and I dare say that a good work of art will keep changing on you over a period of time, because you will discover things in that one little canvas
Yeah.
which you didn't see for the last 3 years. You were sitting in front of that work for
Yeah.
3 years, but you didn't notice that little man in the
Yeah,
corner,
yeah.
or that little sunshine
Yeah.
coming out of that other corner,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
So, a good piece of art will keep growing with you over
Yes,
the years.
yes.
And especially, abstract art.
Yeah.
As you go, a figurative work of art will also grow on you, by the way.
Okay.
But a figurative work of art is more, clear. It's straightforward. You love it for what it is, and so on. But the abstract will kind of, you'll start imagining things which you never saw, which were
Yeah.
not there, which
Yeah.
kind of happened by accident or
Yeah.
whatever. And as the light changes, for example,
Yeah.
in the I have some work.
I was going to say, can you share with us?
Yeah, I mean, I have some works which are by the window. I mean, in the morning, that work, when I'm sitting and having my morning cup of tea or whatever,
Time.
and I'm looking at that work, I say, oh my God, look at this. The morning rays of sunshine are falling on it, and, the face is lit up, or this or that or whatever.
Yeah.
And as the sun goes down in the evening, that work of art has an entirely different character, and as the lights come on, it has a new dimension. So, I mean, these works of art, they grow on you, they grow with you, and
Yeah.
if they are great works of art, obviously, they grow also in value for you. So.
They grow on you, they grow with you, and they grow in value. What more do you want in an investment, right? So just to understand it a little bit better, are there different types of art, like say modern or abstract or maybe sculptures, etc., in terms of value, some do better than the other, or anything that you've noticed, a trend perhaps?
Generally, with time, art grows. So if you look at the Renaissance period, and if you have even one work from that period, it could be worth millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have, for example, a recent work. I mean, I was yesterday at the art fair at NCPA,
Yes.
and I just bought a couple of works, and but they just talked to me.
Yeah.
Such simple stuff, and it talks to you, and
Yeah.
then you pick it up, you put it in your collection, and over a period of time, you hope that obviously it's going to go up. Now, some of the masters like the Razas, the Sousas, the Shakti Burmans, the Paritosh Sens, whether it's Bengal or Baroda or whether it's the progressives or anybody, those works of art, also due to passage of time, have grown hugely in value. Now, if you have, also because those artists are not alive anymore.
Yes.
So the supply chain
Yes.
has stopped.
Yes.
So what is there is rotating around.
Yes.
So, if I want it more than you want it, I'm willing to pay a higher price than you paid for it, and therefore the value keeps going up.
Yes, I'd imagine. So the demand for it is so much more. Can you share an example maybe of a piece of art that you know of, that you maybe bought by you or by someone else, and how much it's appreciated in value over time, that you'd like to maybe give an example? I mean, maybe for those who are saying, I don't know if I'm buying this whole art thing.
One of the things that got me even deeper into art was I went to France to study. So when I came back, I think I realized, oh my God, Indian art is so underpriced as compared to European art, because I saw the prices in those countries and I said, oh my God, look at these prices, hundreds of thousands of euros or dollars. In those days, it was not even euros, it was French francs. And I said, oh my God. And then when I came back, I said, oh my God, this is selling for 1,000 rupees. I mean, what is this? So then I said, okay, let me start looking at various things, and I started buying and so on and so. And lots of works that I.
So what did you buy then for thousands of rupees that's worth now maybe crores?
I mean, everything at that time was in thousands of rupees.
But do you have an example of like,
30,000,
I bought
many,
this?
Many. I mean, the Hussains at in those times were for 12,000, 18,000,
Really?
20,000. The Razas, the Sousas, I mean, a lot of the big artists.
My
I mean,
goodness.
Gade, you can't find today a Gade work, but in those days it was not that he was a prolific artist, but you could still find the works, you could still buy the works for tens of thousands of rupees, and today some of those works, I mean, a good Raza maybe even $3, $4, $5 million.
Wow.
You know, a good Hussein, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. I mean, depending on the size, depending on the work, depending on the quality of and the period. There are specific periods for every artist.
Yes.
You know, and so on and so forth. So I think you know, the increases have been not 20x, 50x, 100x. Or even
Astronomical.
1000x,
Yeah.
they have been like multiples of thousands of x, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, you also have to be very lucky.
Yeah.
You know, but your whole collection over a period of time can be paid for by one work.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so you may have spent I don't know $1 million over a period of time, which is 8 crores, but you may have many works, or you may have spent 20 crores, but over a period of time, one work can yield you more than the entire 20 crores that you spent over a lifetime, for example.
Has there ever been cases of it turning into like a bad investment, depreciating in value, or that doesn't?
See, the thing is,
Because
from my point of view, there's never a bad investment in art. Why? Because if you can live with that work, and if you can enjoy that work, you've already got your value. You've got your value many times over.
I love it.
And you know, so it's not just financial value.
Yes.
It's emotional value. You know, it's the love that you develop with those things over a period of time, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the sculptures you have, and you marvel. I mean, there's this little guy sitting there. The newspaper is so small, and his foot and his toe, which is like this, the foot. So it's a view from here. If the artist viewed it from here, and the newspaper is somewhere here, and it's so small. And you know, I marvel at that as I read my morning newspaper sometimes and sit opposite this work. I say, oh my God, you know, what was this artist thinking? And the artist is probably some nameless, fameless guy, you know, from a small town, you know, near Aurangabad or something like that. But, or a small village even. But you know, you marvel at that thing and you say, "Oh my God!" You know? So
wow, I
like
need to go art shopping with you to evoke all of these wonderful emotions. But have you ever found that maybe people try to jump onto a trend, or this is good right now, and they make maybe a classic mistakes? Are there any classic mistakes that people would want to avoid?
Well, the biggest mistake you can make is buying an art work that you don't emote with. That you know, you bought it because an artist's name was attached to it, or something. I mean, it's not necessarily bad to buy named artists, you know. So the younger generation, you know, people like Jitesh Kalat or this or that who are on the rise. His wife, Reena Saini, or you know, and so on. But the point is, that just because everybody else is buying only that artist or whatever, don't go just after that artist. But if there's a good work, you see the line, you see the form, you see the color, you see the texture, you see the strokes, and you say, yeah, this is interesting, and I also like it, then you are on the right track.
Okay.
So you like it, and you are seeing some technical aspects which are saying something to you.
Okay.
So then you are really on a roll.
On a roll indeed. But, you know, you spoke of provenance and how important that is when artworks are being resold. Is there a checklist of things that you need to keep in mind before you purchase it?
Yeah, you know, this is a relatively new phenomenon.
Okay.
You know, for example, when my father was collecting art, or when I started, you know, following my father's footsteps or whatever, I mean, we hardly ever asked an artist for an invoice, or we hardly ever asked an artist that, you know, can you give us a certificate or something like that? Because in those days, I mean, first of all, the values were so low. You know, so if you bought an artwork for 600 rupees, Now, what are you going to say to the artist? And there was no tax in those days on
Yeah,
art, you know.
yeah.
And so there was also no tax checks and things like that.
But now it's
Now it's
important.
very good
Yeah,
in a way
yeah.
because the tax trail is there.
Yes.
So, you know, if there's nothing else to show provenance,
Yeah.
at least I can say, okay, here's the work I bought, here's the amount I paid by check, and here's the tax receipt.
Yes.
You know, so all of those things are helping. But these days, provenance has become very important, and why it's become important? Because there's also this creeping thing of fakes happening in the
Yes,
market.
yes.
And you know, those fakes are really, in a way, destroying the market for good artists.
Can you tell us more about that? Is that really happening a lot? How does one identify, or is
So
it?
it's a challenge
Yeah.
because some of those fakes are pretty good
Yeah.
fakes, you know. And I must admit to you that there have been times when I've also kind of gotten taken in.
Yeah.
And I bought a work of art and
Oh.
it turned out to be a fake.
How did you get to know?
Well, I mean, I showed it to Dadiba, I showed it to others, I showed it to, Minal Wazirani, I showed it to, you know, and you keep discussing that art.
Yeah.
And once you feel that, you know, something is not perfectly right, then somebody can identify it by saying, look, you know, it says 2002, but in 2002, this artist was doing, you know, more figurative work, and this is more abstract work. So, you know, we don't know whether it's right or wrong or
Yeah.
whatever, but, you know, and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah.
so there's a lot of, and as more debate happens, you know, and sometimes, you know, once my art restorer, she came and she said that, you know, look, you know, I'm restoring this work, but, you know, the paper looks a little bit different from the kind of paper that was being used by Krishan Khanna at that time.
Yeah.
So, you know, he was using imported paper. This is not that kind of.
it's that
so there's many
difficult to-
things
Yeah.
which need to come together. But it's easy for a trained eye also
Yes.
to get taken in.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's a bit of a nuisance, you know.
It is.
And for me, it's also a big nuisance because I say, you know, I want my collection to be pure. I want it to be, you know, absolutely straight and ethics and integrity driven and so on.
Yeah, yeah.
But if I actually got taken in and I bought one work which was a nasty work, it can actually affect the rest of my collection, you know, because people can say, oh my God, you know, he
Yeah.
has a fake.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I didn't know it was a fake. I
yeah.
bought that fake somehow, you know, somebody convinced me to buy it or whatever. And that's a big issue, you know,
Okay.
going forward.
Yeah.
And that's why provenance is so,
Fair.
you know, important.
Yeah.
And one of the good things that is happening is that a lot of the auction houses are now becoming stricter and stricter on the provenance, and they do a lot of research around that work, and they have the researchers to be able to you know, do that research properly.
Okay.
If you buy from an auction house, for example, there's a 99.5% probability that the provenance will be good,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
So
Understood. So that's how important it is.
yes,
Yes.
yes, and the same way with important galleries.
Yes.
You know, if you buy from a smaller
A
gallery,
reputed.
sometimes, you know, you don't know, because and sometimes it's not the gallerist's fault either, because the gallerist is trying to, you know, do his best. But because he has limited resources, because he has limited knowledge, because he or she has limited research capabilities, they also can get taken in by
Yeah.
somebody, you
Yeah,
know,
fair.
who sold them a fake or something. So
Yeah.
these are the real
Yeah.
life situations that one encounters.
Okay. How would art compare as an asset class in the form of investment to others? Would it compare to stocks, real estate, or is it on a trajectory of its own?
For this, you have to look at, you know, generations before us. And I mean, I can give you many examples, but let's take one example of the Rockefeller family. You know, they over the years kept buying art, and they were patrons, they supported artists, they even kind of worked alongside museums, and diverse museums.
Yeah.
They just didn't work with one museum or the other, but they, and so on and so forth. But they created a legacy in art.
Yes.
It was not, and that legacy cannot just be counted in the financial, because look, they were multi-billionaires.
Yes.
They would be equivalent to today's trillionaires.
Yes.
But the legacy that they created in art, and how, even though generation after generation after generation have been bringing works to the market and auctioning them, not only for their personal benefit, but equally benefiting some of the museums.
If I may, I don't know if I'm being crass, but for someone just to start out and not go into, of course, the maestros of art, how much would I need roughly ballpark or a range to invest in a decent piece of art? If you're comfortable with answering
See,
this.
I wouldn't like to put a number of money on it, but I'm saying there are new trends that are emerging. So one of the most fantastic trends that has emerged over a period of time is fractional art.
Yes.
So,
Owning it
you
together.
plus I plus, a couple of other people could come together, and we could combine this into,
Yes.
even buying a master's work of art. So
How
fractional
does that
art.
work then? Who keeps the piece?
So there
We
is,
rotate.
it's the same proportion as you paid for it. So, what you do is, for example, if I buy it along with you and it's 50-50, we can say, okay, you get it for half the time and I get to
Okay.
keep it for half the time. And when we decide to sell it, you get half of whatever comes out of it, and I get half of. So it's very straightforward. If there are three people, suppose you put 75%, I put 25%, then you get to keep it for 70. All these things can be worked out, and to mutual satisfaction of people. So this is a wonderful way of
Yeah.
also, getting that whole thing going. Other than that, things like NFTs are coming up. Now there's newer trends like, AI generated art.
Yeah.
So, how that will be valued in the future, nobody knows. There was this Indian person living in Singapore who was a Bitcoin billionaire.
Yeah.
And he paid $68 million for an NFT.
Yeah.
Now, the good part is he can split that NFT into many things, and he can, he can lease it, he can sell it, he can do, a new trend also that's emerging is leasing of art. So, for example, a hotel, it has, let's say, 500 rooms. It doesn't want to invest huge sums of money, but it wants to make the hotel room look nice and, beautiful when the guest comes in and so on. So what they do is they lease art. They lease 500 works. They put one work in each room.
Okay.
The lessor gets the lease rent. The hotel is very happy. They are paying, I don't know, whatever, 100 rupees per artwork per day or 200, whatever. I don't know the sums of money. I'm not talking about the money side.
But these trends
But
that are emerging.
these are beautiful trends that are happening.
What's your view on some of these emerging trends like NFTs? I believe they're now coming down in value. It's not as hot as it was once.
Yeah, so there are trends which kind of take off, then they taper off, then they take off again. Sometimes they die out. So but you have to. You can't put all your eggs in one basket.
Okay.
That's what I'd like to say. That even when you're buying art, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Sometimes you fall too much in love with one artist or one style. Don't do that. If you can help it, buy diverse styles. It's a little bit like the stock market, no?
Yeah.
A little bit like that, because you won't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
So if you're buying,
fair.
some things in this space, buy some things in those spaces, buy a little bit of figurative art, buy some little abstract art, by young artists, by older artists, by so you can kind of diversify your portfolio of art as well.
Wonderful. And I think it's been truly enlightening and eye-opening speaking with you. So thank you for sharing with us your deep knowledge about art and educating us and opening our eyes to this wonderful world.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's really been wonderful for me to be able to speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that's really been so eye-opening, the fact that we're seeing art being democratized now in the country. I think, as Mr. Kakkar said, dip your toe in this wonderful wide ocean, initiate yourself into the world of art. There's so many galleries, there's so many brochures, there's so much information online, so get started somewhere. Buy that one piece of art that you love. That's how you can really get started. There's fractional ownership if you don't want to shell out heavy sums of money. And it's never a bad investment, as he said. It will grow on you, it will grow with you, and it will grow for you. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Would you consider investing in art? Have you already? Do let us know in the comments section. And do remember to subscribe to Personal Finance TV. Thanks for watching.